Experts on Suicide, a presentation by experts, Laura Brown, October 30th, 2013, Psych 496. Brief overview. Suicide. Which gender? Despite what you've heard, men are the ones committing suicide far more than women these days. As a matter of fact, for every 5 suicides in the U.S., 4 of them are male. What's the big concern? Well, it seems suicide is still an issue and has been for the past 2 decades. The same degree of emphasis is still there, even 20 years later. In the past, it may have been the females, but research has shown the roles have been reversed and male suicide is now considered an epidemic. The topic is suicide and gender. What's the importance? Well, it's just that suicide is ranked the 14th leading cause of death worldwide, and the rate is higher in men, not to mention the fact that suicide rates worldwide have been on the rise since the 1950s. Introducing the experts, counselor versus PhD. Darcy Hay Granello is the counselor at Ohio State University Department of Counselor's Education. She specializes in suicide assessment, recognizing the risk for specialized intervention. Her department uses a 12-core process that guides the suicide risk. Suicide assessment encourages counselors to focus on detail to become exceptional in decision-making. Jed Diamond, PhD, is the founder and director of Men Alive and Health program that helps men live long and well. Since 1992, Jed has been on the board of advisors of the Men's Health Network. He is also a member of the International Society for the Study of Aging Male and serves as a member of the International Scientific Board of the World Congress on Gender and Male's Health. Expert 1. Granello and her group have implemented a 12-core process that is geared towards accuracy of assessing individuals who are at risk for suicide. The core principles are: Principle 1, suicide risk assessment of each person is unique. Principle 2, suicide risk assessment is complex and challenging. Principle 3, suicide risk assessment is ongoing. Principle 4, suicide assessment errs the side of caution. Principle 5, suicide risk assessment is collaborative. Principle 6, suicide risk assessment relies on clinical judgment. Principle 7, risk assessment takes all threats, warnings, signs, and risk factors seriously. Principle 8, suicide risk assessment asks tough questions. Principle 9, suicide risk assessment is treatment. Principle 10, suicide risk assessment tries to uncover the underlying message. Principle 11, suicide risk assessment is done in a cultural context. And last, Principle 12, suicide risk assessment is documented. It is important that all counselors have the skills and knowledge to assess and recognize when a client needs referral for comprehensive suicide risk assessment. Expert 2. Jed Diamond, PhD, is one of the world's experts on suicide and sees it as an epidemic in men. Out of the 30,000 people in the U.S. who commit suicide each year, 80% are men. After retirement age, the numbers go even higher. His focus is on awareness. We need to know the 3 motivational aspects that contribute to suicide. They are a sense of not belonging, a sense of not contributing, and capability for suicide, not being afraid to die. He says although women can take their lives in the same reason, there is clearly a male phenomenon. Losing a job or retirement can send a man into feeling worthless and unable to contribute. Feeling like a burden can make males feel even more alone. Diamond has put together a model he calls the interpersonal theory of suicide, which can be helpful in understanding suicide risk in men. It's a questionnaire asking things like if they feel disconnected and are they interacting with people. It's basically another assessment tool to see what men are at risk. Compare and contrast. Counselor Granello. It is a male phenomenon. She assesses for risks. Decision-making is specific to the individual. Diamond. It's a male epidemic. Feelings of worthlessness. Questionnaire for risk. Both clinicians agree suicide is higher in males and assessing for risk is vital to proper implementation.